Hello, friends. Have you been performing your whole life, chasing ways to fix yourself, proving that you're enough? Well, here's the truth. You're not broken, and you never were. I'm Anthony Johnson, and this is Living Your Spirit, the podcast for people ready to stop becoming and start being. Trauma, healing, awakening. What are they? How do we experience them? What do they mean? How do we navigate them? What's the purpose of them? And why is there so much talk about these three things right now in 2026? Welcome to episode 142. This is Anthony, and this is Living Your Spirit. Today I'm talking about what trauma is, what healing is, and what awakening is. I think most people associate trauma and healing on kind of the same level. If you've gone through trauma, you need to heal. Or if you're healing from trauma. And then people have awakening. So it's kind of like two separate paths. One of the things people run into is thinking that healing means awakening or enlightenment, or the opposite of that, thinking that if you're awakened or enlightened, you're healed. And that's not necessarily true. Those two things work together. They complement each other. But they are two separate things, and they require two separate types of work, dedication, and awareness. So starting with trauma, that would be one of the things that most people experience as traumatic. Most people experience it as a child, ages 0 to 7, something that a parent did, a caregiver, someone in authority, a teacher. Maybe it could be any adult. As children, we consider most adults authority figures, right? Because they are bigger, they're stronger, they can control us physically. And most of the time, we're not aware that they can also control us mentally and emotionally, but they can, and they have that power, and that's why we view them as people of authority. So it could be a teacher, it could be a relative, a grandparent, maybe just someone that you see frequently, a babysitter. Whatever it is, it could be someone that has an effect on you, that impacts you. What we're talking about when we say healing is someone that negatively impacts you. And of course, there could be people that positively impact you, that have you grow up feeling loved and supported and honest and open and authentic and free to be yourself and express yourself and creative. Or we could have someone that shuts you down, makes you be quiet, crushes your creativity, silences you, makes you feel small, makes you feel guilt or shame. And those are the types of traumatic experiences that I'm talking about today. So for me, I believe it was having a parent that was more on the avoidance side. And the reason, I believe, is because my grandparent was on the avoidance side. So, you can't really learn something that you're not taught or something that you're not around or experiencing. So if you've never really experienced love, support, connection, authenticity. You're not really going to know what that is. You're not going to know how to give it because you never received it. So I believe that was my situation. I didn't get it because my caregiver, my parent, didn't get it and did not know how to give it because she did not receive it. I understand that now. I'm aware of that now. And of course, I forgive, most specifically because I see the situation. I understand the situation. 12 kids. How much attention do you think child number 12 how much attention do you think child number 12 actually got? Well, my mom was child number 12, and she did not get much attention. So my feeling is when I came along, she didn't know how to give attention because she had never gotten attention. So when we look at childhood and we look at traumatic experiences and we look at attachment style and all of the labels, we have to think about, who do we want to be right now? Who do we want to be in this moment? How can we change? Do we want to remain avoidant? Do we want to remain anxious? Or do we want to change? And do we want to drop the label and not simply carry it around, finger point and blame, and take on the role of a victim? So those things are traumatic experiences. They could be verbal abuse, they could be physical abuse, they could be emotional abuse. There are parents and caregivers that don't feed their children, that don't take care of their children as far as clothing, hygiene, don't provide emotional support, authenticity, connection. All of those things are traumatic experiences for a child. In some cases, it's because the parent experienced that same or similar thing when they were a child. So traumatic experiences tend to follow us throughout life. If we experience it as a child, we most likely experience it as an adult, depending on what types of things we're involved in, what types of situations. Our actions, reactions, and behaviors are results of those traumatic experiences. And that's why we say trigger, which is a word that I don't like. It's way overused. But if something happens and someone says something or does something that activates an emotion in you that's from childhood, that reactivates that original traumatic experience. So let's move to healing. So when we start to heal, we're actually starting to heal from those traumatic experiences. I know that I'm anxious. I know that I'm avoidant. I know that I get angry when, or I know that I get really sad if. So most of these things relate back to something that happened in childhood. So we may be 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever age now, but sometimes those things happening now activate emotions that happened 30, 40, 50, or 60 years ago. And that's why we take the path of healing, so that we no longer are affected by what people say, what people do, how people treat us. Our actions, reactions, and behaviors start to change and become more of who we are now, not who we were 50 or 60 years ago. So the healing is understanding what happened that makes me the way I am today? How are my parents? How are my caregivers? How is my school? How are my teachers? How are my friends? How is my family unit? How did I feel? Was I loved? Was I supported? Was I abandoned? Was I allowed to express myself? Was I allowed to be creative? Or was I shut down? Was I silenced? Was I told to be a certain way? Was I told I should not wear certain clothing, act certain ways, say certain things? And in a lot of cases, of course, religion has a lot to do with this. If you grew up in a family that was what they considered religious, perhaps there were a lot of rules and things that took place based on the rules of that religion. And those can also have an impact on us as adults. Maybe we don't feel that those rules still apply, but we're still affected by them depending on the situations that we find ourselves in. Most specifically, relationships. They could be friendships, they could be dating, more intimate or romantic relationships. But in most cases, when we start to get closer to people, things start to happen to activate those emotions from childhood. And that, my friends, is the purpose of relationships. We meet people that press all of our buttons so that we can get upset and that we can heal. So the more people that press our buttons and the more we get upset, the more it hurts, the more we desire to heal. Hello, friends. Quick break. If anything in this show makes you want to explore more, whether it's on chronic pain, trauma work, shadow work, or reclaiming your wholeness, please visit CoachAJ.com and book a discovery call. Now let's get back to the show. So understanding that process, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Why people in relationships have so much trouble and so much struggle, and why some friendships are just a nightmare. Every time that friend says something to you that pisses you off, it's because you have something going on that's a wound that you can heal. And once you heal that wound, you will no longer be upset by what they say or what they do. Now, if you have a friend that's a total ass, then of course you're going to be upset. You have potential to be upset with things that they say and do, but those are the kind of people that you walk away from. I'm talking about people that you really love, you care about, and they just randomly say things and do things that upset you. Things that make you feel like, what is going on? Why would you say that? Why would you do that? That's hurtful. That's hateful. So when we start to realize it's not always what they're saying or doing, it's something that's going on within us already, that's when we can start to heal. If that person doesn't text me back within 10 minutes and I feel like they are not my friend, they are not being responsible, respectful, they're not being a good friend, is that about me or is that about them? Most likely that's about me and my insecurities and my anxiousness. And when I learn that it doesn't matter if they text me back in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, or not at all, and I can still be friends, and I can still love them, and I can still live my spirit, that's what we call healing. So what is it that makes you upset? What are the things that trigger you? What are the things that activate your emotions? And can you map them back to things that your parents did, or your caregivers did, or your church members did, or other people in your family unit did. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe you were the youngest of 2 or 3 or 5 or 12 in my mom's case. What did they say to you? What did they do to you? How did they make you feel? And how is what they did then affecting you now? How is that affecting your actions, reactions, and behaviors now? When you figure that out and you decide to heal it, that's the journey. And I'll give you a brief example. Of course, having an avoidant parent meant I became anxious. There wasn't attention, there wasn't connection, so I was constantly looking for it, constantly scanning. When is she leaving? When is she coming back? As a child, as a teenager, and then of course as a young adult, as I started to date, as I started to have friendships, same thing, same feeling, different people. Why are they leaving? When are they coming back? Why didn't they call me? Why are they late? Why did they say that thing? Why don't I feel like they love me? If they don't show up for that date, does it mean they don't love me? Does it mean they don't want me? Now I can look at it and say, it means whatever it means. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they don't feel well. Maybe something else came up. But I don't have to make it about me. I don't have to make it something bad about me. I'm not wanted. I'm not loved. I'm a victim. People don't like me. And that's what we consider healing. You heal the wound and you no longer feel bad. So let's talk about the third step, which is awakening. Completely different path. Awakening is understanding your power, who you are, your authenticity, your creativity, why you're here, your purpose, how you're connected to the universe, how you're connected to source, and how all of that functions together. How your thinking and feeling creates your reality. How your thinking and feeling makes you think and feel and do certain things. How trauma, how healing are also involved in that. If you're thinking and feeling a certain way, but you really want to be thinking and feeling another way, it's probably because you have not healed a specific wound. So that, my friends, is why we say healing and awakening are separate paths. You can awaken and understand your connection with Source or with God or with the universe, whatever you want to call it. Your spirit. You can know your purpose. You can know that you want to serve humanity, that you want to love everyone, that you want to be free from anger and hate and feelings of not having enough, feelings of not being enough. But that is not the same as healing. So if you begin to awaken and you want to awaken and you still are activated by emotions and things that people do and say, then most likely you still need to go through some of the healing processes. It can be done on its own, or it can be done in tandem. Sometimes if you do healing and awakening and you're kind of going through both things at the same time, you start to see how they are connected and how they complement one another. The more you awaken and the more you heal, the more you feel lighter and brighter and more authentic, and you're less reactive. You're more calm. You're more at peace. You definitely have a lot more inner peace. But you can't just say, I healed, so I'm awakened. And you can't say, I'm awakened, so I'm healed. So where are you in the process? Would you consider yourself healed? Would you consider yourself awakened? And are you living your spirit? Have you gone through traumatic experiences as a child, or maybe even as a young adult or a teenager? Are you aware of what they are or what they were? Do you understand them? And do you understand the processes that you need to go through to get past them and beyond them so that you're no longer upset, activated, and experiencing feelings of loss or loneliness or sadness or abandonment or anger? Because you understand that what happened 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago is not the same as what's happening now. And the cleaning process is cleaning up what's within, not anyone or anything external to you. And also the purpose of relationships. Friends push our buttons, co-workers push our buttons, bosses, managers, supervisors, spouses, people we date, our children, definitely a big one. Our children definitely press our buttons. That's all part of healing. They push our buttons and they push us in the direction of healing. They say something that hurts us, and we don't want to hurt, so it's calling us to change. They do something and it hurts us, so it causes us and causes, it calls, right? Hey, that hurts. What needs to change so that doesn't hurt me anymore? It calls us towards healing. So are you healed? Are you awakened? Do you feel lighter? Where are you in the process? Do you feel like these are three separate things? Or shall I say two separate things? And you have gotten through all three? Or you've gotten through one and now you're moving to the next? I'm curious to know. If you have questions or if you need help, please drop a comment via text in fan mail, and I'll be sure to answer your question in an upcoming episode. Hopefully this provides some clarity, because I know a lot of people are confused. And yes, the universe is shifting, and that's why so many people are going through so much pain. We're being called to heal. If you're experiencing pain right now in your life, you're being called to heal. If it's a relationship that's falling apart, if it's a friendship that's falling apart, if it's a coworker that annoys you, if it's a sibling, if it's a child that is not doing what you think they should do or need to do or want them to do, and it's causing you what you would consider painful emotions, you're being called to heal. You're being pulled in the direction of healing. Okay, friends, thanks for listening. I hope you have more clarity around trauma, healing, and awakening. I'll talk to you in the next episode.
Hello, friends. Thank you for listening. Do you have a question about something you heard in the show? Or do you have your own personal story that you would like to share? Please click on Fan Mail and send a text message, which is located in the show notes. Or call 1-609-310-1777 and leave a voicemail. I will be sure to feature your question on an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.